Okay, I call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Would everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, I want to welcome everyone who is here tonight and everyone who's watching us at home. Real briefly, I'll go through our agenda for this evening. First, we'll have the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from the September 9th meeting. Then we'll have a master alternative sign plan for Coronado Shops and a final plat for the Blue Springs Christian Church. And that's our agenda for this evening. We'll move first with the consent agenda. Any discussion and/or motions?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes have been approved. We'll move now to item number 2, which is the master alternative sign plan for Coronado Shops. And Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. Before you this evening is a request for a new monument sign at Coronado Shops, located at 475 Northeast Coronado Drive. It's the shop where the rear of the businesses essentially face Coronado, just east of Sports City. Planet Sub, Wingstop, some of those other businesses are located there. The applicant is looking to add a kind of a multi-tenant shop monument sign. Technically, our sign code calls it a shopping center monument sign. It would be located, as they're requesting it, only 5 feet from the property line in lieu of the 14 feet that is required with the 10-foot height that they're looking at. Let me jump to those pages here. A little hard to see. So I'm kind of go through the whole background here real briefly, but 75 square feet is the maximum size of the sign face. They are within that 66.5 square feet. They can be 8 feet high, although you can get an additional foot in height for every 2 feet setback. So with the requested 10 feet in height, that's where you get the 14 feet that's required to be. So 10 feet and then plus the 4 there gets to the 14. So with that, last that you saw anything on this property was back in 2010, looking at Amsdale Bank, which again is kind of Coronado Place. This is Coronado Shops, but the whole property was essentially under one master sign plan. With that, again, pretty straightforward in terms of the type of sign. Let me jump to the renderings here. You can see the type here. The again, the brickwork and such does mimic. You can see the edge of the Sonic sign, and it does mimic that pretty closely in terms of font and the base of the monument sign and things of that sort. So the sign in and of itself, again, not really in question at this point. It's simply the location is what's being brought before you as requesting alternative compliance. So with that, I'll jump back to the staff conditions. And before I do that, let me mention about location, for example. Again, the sign is about approximately 64 feet as presented from the Coronado Shops building. The applicant notes that the sign is 50 feet from the adjacent Sonic monument sign that you saw in that earlier photo. Staff, however, is recommending, since there is no sign currently at the western entrance, which is essentially the terminus T-intersection of Sunnyside School Road and Coronado Drive, kind of essentially a shared entrance to Sports City. Staff is recommending that that the sign as proposed be located at the west entrance then of Coronado Shops to avoid any further clustering of more monument signs at that main lighted intersection. There are several monument signs, as you know, there already. Staff did provide minutes from the original approvals for the sign plan, and it's page 4 of 5 on those minutes. I can show that here quickly. Did want to highlight that. You can see here that the applicant was looking to reduce some of the setbacks, and you can see what was approved in terms of location. You can see here, this is where you get some of that, 14 feet shopping center sign. There's a shopping center sign on the eastern end, which includes like Amsdale Bank, things of that sort. So staff thought it more appropriate to have the proposed monument sign located at the western and westernmost entrance where there is no signage currently, rather than at that main lighted intersection where we already have the Taco Bell, Sonic. Lot 3 is actually now the Panda Express. And then you also have, it mentions Texas Roadhouse, but they have their own pole sign along I-70. So with that, again, that's where we come up with the conditions before you this evening. I know the applicant has some comments they'd like to share with you regarding that. But the applicant, staff is recommending approval though. Again, the sign in and of itself, not really the issue, simply the location. Staff is recommending that the sign be repositioned. Still allowing the 5-foot setback is consistent as I just showed you from some of the other monument signs along Coronado there. Since a fair amount of right-of-way had eaten up some of the existing lot lines when Coronado Drive was expanded several years ago. So 5-foot setback was not entirely inappropriate and again consistent with some of the other monument signs, but it'd be moved to the western entrance of Coronado Shops. Applicant has seemed agreeable that again any landscaping that would be removed would need to be replaced so that any new landscaping must be compliant with the open space and buffer landscaping requirements as currently presented at the site. So and again, the applicant just would need a standard sign permit following any approvals, and again, any building permit should require that as well for the foundation, electrical, things like that. So again, I'll defer to the applicant to comment particularly on condition number 1 regarding with regards to the western entrance proposal staff is submitting here this evening. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation?
Good evening. My name is Robin D'Angelo with KC Sign Express. It's 5033 Mackey, Overland Park, Kansas, 66203. We certainly do appreciate staff recommending approval of our signage. We definitely need it. We have currently had plans to place the sign 50 feet from the Taco Bell. Is that Taco Bell or Sonic? 50 feet from the nearest sign.
That's Sonic.
Okay. I spoke to my client today, which is R.H. Johnson, Scott Tobin, and he's a little opposed to putting it all the way at the western end, although, I mean, if we need to do that, we certainly will. We're asking if we can't have it where we really want it at, which is 50 feet from that existing sign and 64 feet from the building, what if would you be opposed if we were to move it another 20 feet towards the west? That way it gets out of that congested area where all the signs currently are sitting. We feel that the approach coming into the shopping center is primarily from the east. So we still feel like a lot of folks are going to miss it if we place it clear at the far end of on the west. Right now, we're 64 feet from the eastern edge of the building, and this would put us at 34 feet, or 44 feet from the edge of the building.
Do we have any questions?
Just got a comment.
Yeah.
Make sure I understand. So your proposed sign that you want to put up there is an additional 20 feet to the west?
Right now, it's currently sitting 50 feet from the existing sign. We could move it another 20 feet to the west.
To the east? No, I'm sorry, to the
We'd
west.
be moving to the
To the
west.
west, you're right, I'm sorry.
And Scott, the recommendation is to be farther down on the west?
The recommendation, as stated, would be on the far west end of the building at the Sunnyside School Road entrance.
There's an entrance into the shop?
Yes, yes. Essentially, it's essentially shared with Sports City
Okay.
currently, so again, just, it then also mimics to some degree the easternmost sign over by Amesbury Amesbury Bank, which is also a multi-tenant sign.
Yes, go ahead.
I guess I'm trying to understand how you would lose the visibility by moving it to the west entrance, because if you move an additional 20 feet to the west, you basically need to make a decision before you reach that intersection there to either right turn in or go straight.
Right.
Versus if it was located at the west entrance, you're catching most of your traffic heading eastbound, who would probably turn left into that shared drive off of Sunnyside School and then enter your Coronado shops, or you're also getting the westbound traffic who might have missed reading the signs on the buildings and will turn in and then visit your tenants as well. It just seems like in regards to even moving it 20 feet to the west, I don't think that gives enough visibility because of everything else in that area for someone to make a decision to do a right-hand turn into the facility for your shops.
Yeah, I've driven that several times, and the visibility is quite good coming from the eastern direction, because that actually puts us, it puts us away from all the congestion, so you actually can see it. And I do completely understand what you're saying on the west end. We're just afraid that there's nobody coming from the west end. I think everybody is pretty much coming from the eastern side to get in there. Now, and I'm totally agreeable with the fact that in the future, that may change, so we may have a lot of, now if we can do that. We're totally not opposed to doing it. We're happy to be able to get another sign for the retail tenants there. But we were hoping to have it on this end. So if you all would take that into consideration, that would be great.
Any other questions? How much space is there between that entrance drive and the east end of that building?
Approximately 114 feet.
Okay, so even moving it to 70 feet, it's still not going to overlap the building.
No.
It didn't seem to me like there was that much space there, but I guess there is.
I know, I didn't think so either till I started measuring it. That was a chore.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I don't really have a question, I have a comment.
Okay.
Because I try to avoid that light and go down to the next entrance to turn into there.
But you know
Because
it's there.
And then if I'm coming from the east, if I'm coming from the west, I do the same thing because I don't want to hit the light.
I do it now too, because I know
So,
it's there.
yeah.
So I think it just takes that first time, and then people know that it's just getting to that point, but,
Yeah, that, even though it's a shared entrance, it does seem like it belongs more to Sports City than it does to you guys. I
right.
will give you that.
So,
But I use that one all the time too, because it's,
like I said, there's just a ton of traffic over there now that that's developed, and hopefully people will find their way in coming from the west, another route like I do now, because it's a lot easier. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we'll just wait to see what you decide on.
yes, Mr. Haney?
Did you have another
Make
question?
a Comment, I guess, I think the sign, the 20-foot, I don't have any problem with that, because I think it should be closer to the businesses than up to the far corner. If I was putting in a sign for my business or the money, I'd want it at least in the proximity of the business, so personally, I don't see any problem with the extra 20-foot sign.
So you'd rather have it on the east side?
I just have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Remind me what's there on the east side, that 114 feet, what occupies that? Is that a parking lot, or is that?
Yes.
expansion?
There's a parking lot there on the side of Planet Sub,
That's a hall?
and a little bit of a patio, covered patio there as well.
And that's primarily for the Planet Sub folks, and then the other 7 tenants are further to the west.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll bring it up here for a discussion. And/or any motions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Haney?
Make a motion to approve the ASP 8-13-4082 amendment to the master sign plan with the 3 recommendations, however, changing it to the 20 feet, additional feet from wherever that may be.
So 70 feet from the Taco Bell
Right,
side, or the Sonic sign, I'm sorry, 70 feet from the Sonic sign.
Yes, sir.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Sign plan has been approved. Thank you all. And now we move to item number 3, which is the final plat for Blue Springs Christian Church. Mr. Holly.
Thank you. Before you tonight is a request for a final plat for Blue Springs Christian Church. Let me get to the... site location map. And as you can see, it's located on the west side of Southwest 7 Highway, approximately 2,000 feet north of Wyatt Road. You've seen this several times here recently. This particular property is zoned general business, and the comprehensive plan currently is low-density residential and general commercial. The general commercial being on the west side of the property, on the east side of the property, and the low-density residential being on the west. Previous action on this particular property, the City Council has held a public hearing for the annexation. The second reading and the ordinance goes before them on October 7th, as well as the rezoning, request for zoning. The Planning Commission recommended for approval on September 9th. That will go to the City Council on October 7th. This final plat would then also run concurrently on October 7th with those 2 other requests. Having to do with the plat, though, the Planning Commission did approve the preliminary plat at your September 9th Planning Commission meeting. And As you know, the church is looking, wanting to connect to the sanitary sewer, and as part of the processes that they had to go through in order to do that, they had to do the annexation. They chose to do the rezoning and again, the plating. So with this plating, the applicant intends to extend the public sewer from Southwest 10th Street. They will be required to extend the sanitary sewer main onto their property, as well as install a manhole. And in order to do that, they will need to provide the necessary easements, which are shown on the final plat this time. They'll also need to install a 5-foot sidewalk. That sidewalk is along Southwest 7 Highway. Get to the plat. Which is a little bit difficult to read. But again, the sidewalk is shown, the 5-foot easement, and the applicant intends to construct the sidewalk as quickly as possible. However, they don't believe that will be done by the time that the plat is scheduled to go to the city council, and therefore they will be submitting a security escrow so that it will meet all the requirements for final platting. Staff recommends approval, and there are 10 conditions. Most of those conditions really just have to do with reaffirming what's needed for installing the public sidewalk and then primarily that sanitary sewer. So if there are any questions, I would stand for those, and if not, I know the applicant is here. If you have any questions of them.
Are there any questions for staff? Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Holly. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Evening.
Good evening.
It's Matt Slish with Engineering Solutions. Not too much to say tonight. We're fine with the 10 conditions, and like I say, we're working as quickly as we can to get the sidewalk and sanitary sewer installed this fall, or hopefully at least before the winter comes. So we're happy to answer any questions and keep moving forward.
Are there any questions for this applicant? I guess not. Thank you. Any discussion? Motions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion
Ms.
to
Banks, go ahead.
approve the final plat of Blue Springs Christian Church, first plat, case file PF 9-13-4087, with the 10 staff conditions.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that final plat goes to city council with our recommendation. Thank you. Okay, and that brings us back to other business. Mr. Allen, Mr. Holly, anything you'd like to add this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next Planning Commission meeting is Monday, October 14th. There's a 5th Monday next week, so it's 3 weeks from tonight instead of 2 weeks from tonight. We did receive some applications. Last Friday was our most recent application deadline, and you'll be seeing a preliminary and final plat for a 1-lot subdivision up Moreland School Road, just for a new house, a vacant piece of ground. And also Hardee's will be coming forward. Tentatively. Yes, this is all tentative. Thank you for the clarification. Tentative, especially Hardee's, okay.
Hardee's has to do, we've already started to review their site plan, and Hardee's has some things that they need to address before they're ready to come, and I'm not sure they can get those addressed in time for that.
Thank you for the clarification. So if you don't see them on the 14th, they still have submitted for the application deadline, so look forward to seeing them. If not the 14th, some very recent meeting coming up. So number of other things going on, but at pre-application stage right now, so as those start getting finalized and formalized, we'll be bringing those back to you at that time. But with that, we did have our comprehensive plan steering committee meeting just before this meeting. Thank you for those of you who were able to attend, and just information on that, we'll be starting to have our specific plan or specific area plan meetings. The first one is the area you may have seen previously, kind of centered around Franklin Smith, Plaza Heights, kind of 19th and Clark area. That, say neighborhood, but it's a large area. It goes up to 40 and out to 7 Highway and such. But looking at the October 22nd and 24th. So kind of just pencil that in for now. Nothing's been locked in, but we're shooting for kind of a two-pronged meeting, kind of before and after, getting feedback on the 22nd, kind of working like we did with the downtown master plan, kind of doing a kind of an open house charrette type approach Wednesday and Thursday then, 23rd and then into the 24th, with the consultant kind of working on ideas they get from the public meeting on the 22nd, and having kind of a draft presentation wrap up on the 24th. So we'll be reaching out to folks in that area in the next week or so, and but it's open to anybody and everybody to attend, and we'll get location and time and such finalized as well in the next week or so. So I think that's kind of sums it up from staff.
Okay, is there anything anyone up here would like to make us all aware of, or?
One thing.
Yes, Mr. Abbott.
Chairman, I attended the sustainability talk last Thursday. I thought they had some really good ideas. Had some interesting comments afterwards, but there were some good ideas. So I'd like to see us try to implement some of those in our planning, because, especially some of those like drainage. Instead of going straight asphalt, start looking at some types of materials where we can actually have the groundwater drain back into the ground without, carrying on through asphalt. So I thought there's some really good ideas, and some, I just say we ought to try to implement some of that stuff. And same thing for like solar and solar panels. They mentioned that we don't really have anything in our ordinance about that, those type of alternative energy sources. But I thought it was a good lecture. It was good.
We also had a very good discussion on Friday, following up your discussion Thursday night, and we picked out some areas that we think we can very quickly maybe work towards addressing some of those. And, so hopefully we'll be looking at those in the comp plan review and UDC review and in other ways. So yeah, it was a very good discussion. Anybody else? Well, if anybody is interested, wants to know what's going on downtown, the general Downtown Alive meeting to report out and find out what's going on is next Monday morning at 8 o'clock at the Chamber of Commerce. And that meeting is definitely open to anyone who'd like to attend. We look forward to having more volunteers and more people involved. Anything else other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned.